Thanks for the introduction. I'm going to talk about the blockchain imitation game. This is a joint work with Stefanos, Liyi, Benjamin from Imperial College as well, and Don from UC Berkeley, and Arthur from University College of London. So in the last 15 years, the blockchain landscape has experienced a huge transformation from Bitcoin's initial idea as a peer-to-peer system, facilitating straightforward asset transfers without trusted third party. We evolved to the Ethereum network. The Ethereum network supports the so-called smart contracts, programs running on top of blockchains, paving the way of complex and programmable transactions on blockchains. And fast forward to the year of 2020, a vibrant community started to building a myriad of financial applications on blockchains, ranging from exchanges, lending and borrowing platforms, which culminated into what we now recognize as decentralized finance, or DeFi. Now, DeFi as a financial system in a sense can naturally provide some profitable opportunities to its participants. You might have heard of arbitrage and liquidation. There are also some so-called DeFi attacks where attackers exploit the vulnerabilities in smart contracts and profit by stealing money from benign DeFi users. I will talk about these DeFi attacks later in my talk. So in general, these financial values that are extractable from the blockchain system or the DeFi ecosystem are referred to as MEV, minor extractable value or maximal extractable value. And those who extract MEV from blockchains are called MEV searchers in the blockchain community. So to become an MEV searcher is not an easy job. So imagine you are an arbitrager who wants to take some arbitrage opportunities. You need to monitor the financial markets 24/7. You need to identify the price differences and issue and craft an arbitrage transaction swiftly to become the first one to extract this opportunity. And typically, an MEV searcher needs to implement their own smart contracts to merge all the multiple financial actions into one blockchain transaction to make this transaction atomic, meaning all the actions should succeed or fail at the same time. So here I give a quick example on arbitrage contract. There are in total 3 actions in smart contract. So first you can swap Ether to USDC and then USDC back to Ether. And finally you send back the profit to the transaction sender. All right, so what if you're a lazy MEV searcher and you don't really want to understand all the complex trading rules and all these exchange smart contracts, and you don't want to monitor the financial market 24/7? What can you do? One possible strategy is like you can become a copycat. You can really observe what the other searchers are doing and blindly copy their strategies. And you don't need to think of your own. And such a strategy is termed as the blockchain imitation game in our paper. Okay, so to understand what the imitation game is, let's dive into the life cycle of an MEV transaction. So first, an MEV searcher identifies an MEV opportunity and crafts an MEV transaction. That's the creation phase. And this transaction is then propagated through the peer-to-peer network or any private channel to be observed by the blockchain miners or builders or validators, those who are responsible for creating the next block. And the transaction is eventually executed by these validators and confirmed on-chain. So here is the key point to note. You might notice that there is a time delay from the observation phase and the execution phase. That is one of the main points that separate the DeFi system from if you compare to the traditional financial system. And this time window, often lasting a few seconds, opens up the opportunity that one imitation adversary can actually observe a profitable transaction and does copy-paste and try to front-run the original profitable transactions. So in summary, the imitation strategy boils down to the strategy of observe, copy-paste, and front-run. Now the question is, how can you create an imitation transaction? So in one of our previous work, we proposed a very simple solution called naive imitation. The naive imitation is basically blindly copying the original profitable transaction and does some string replacement to create an imitation transaction. So if you look at the arbitrage example I gave earlier, so you can easily find that if an imitation attacker triggers this arbitrage contract and function, the final profit will be sent to the imitation attacker instead of the original searcher. So this is a really simple strategy, but it's quite effective. We found out from December 2018 to August 2021, naive imitation could have generated more than $35 million on Ethereum blockchain. But on the other hand, this naive imitation strategy is quite easy to prevent. So the ME researcher can easily add one line of code in his smart contract to check or validate the transaction sender address. So now when the naive imitation attacker tries to trigger this smart contract, the execution will be immediately reverted at the line of address checking, and no arbitrage will be executed. So that there will be no profit for the naive imitation attacker. Okay, so although the naive imitation is quite easy to prevent, I would like to remark that the threat of imitation still exists. So in our work, we propose APE, the first generalized imitation strategy, which can allow an attacker to bypass all these imitation protections. So on a high level, APE automatically imitates and synthesizes smart contracts which can bypass these imitation protections but mimic all the profit strategies. So again, in this example, we can bypass the transaction sender address check, but still perform the arbitrage actions and finally send the profit back to the imitation attacker. So I would skip all the technical details. If you're interested, please, I do encourage you to check out the paper. So on a high level, we have 6 steps. We use dynamic tenant analysis to identify those smart contracts that should be imitated and synthesized. And it's important to note that our method doesn't rely on any source code. It's purely on the bytecode. And also the synthesized smart contracts are all in bytecode. And we don't need any heuristic to identify any potentially profitable transaction. So to understand the effectiveness of APE, we performed a comprehensive analysis. So we first did a historical evaluation by executing APE on all the past transactions from August 2021 to July 2022 on both Ethereum and the BNB Smart Chain. And we find out APE could have generated more than $148 million on Ethereum over this 1-year period and more than $42 million on BSC. I also put the accumulative diagram in the slides. And we also did some real-time evaluation by injecting this APE logic into a running mainnet blockchain full node without actually sending out these transactions. And we find out the real-time performance of APE is great. On average, every imitation execution costs less than, on average, it costs 0.07 seconds. Okay, so if you look at the accumulative profit diagrams, you might notice some profit spikes along with the line. So to understand where the revenues come from in these high reward vulnerable smart transactions, we did some investigation. And it turns out many of these high reward transactions are the DeFi attacks. So this insight actually pivots into an intriguing proposition. Can imitation be repurposed as a defensive mechanism? The answer is yes. So imagine that you are a miner or a validator who receives an attack transaction. Instead of executing this transaction and including this transaction immediately on chain, you can create an imitation transaction with app And instead of, you can front run the attack transaction with your own imitation transaction. And then as a miner or validator, you can act as a white hat hacker to take the profit and then pay back to those users who lost money in these attack transactions. And we found that during the 1 year period on Ethereum, Ape could have prevented 29 attacks corresponding to 73 million US dollars of loss. And on BSC, the preventable attack transactions is 40, and the total preventable loss amounts to 22 million US dollars. I have listed some of the attack examples for your reference. And also in the paper, we show some normal, regular DeFi transactions that are actually not attacks, but still vulnerable to imitations that can create more than 20 million US dollars within a single transaction. So it's a really dangerous sign. So if you're interested, please check out the paper. All right, I hope you enjoy my presentation, and I'm happy to take questions.